The following program is sponsored by Tropical Acres Steakhouse.
Hold the Mayo. It's time for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Find out what's being served with Mike, Defo and Lubie, the only show that covers food, sports, and the proper maintenance of your car. And now, a man who had the distinction of having an entire health clinic named in his honor, Mike Mayo.
I want the frim fram sauce with the awesome bay with shafafa on the side.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Today, a rare home edition. We've got Jeff Defo DeForest back in the fort up in Lauderdale by the Sea. We've got Mike Lubie Lubitz in his home base of Coral Springs. And look who we have with us today, special guest. And not only do I always have the pleasure of welcoming to the show with the usual introduction that he is a two-time James Beard Award-winning writer, but he actually. Oh, what are you doing there? Oh, you're polishing there.
Sorry, I didn't see you there, Mike. Sorry about that.
Is that what's called a troll? A live human trolling? I'm not bitter. I'm not jealous. Just because I seethe with resentment every day that I realize that I never won anything. No, you know what?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Awards are nice, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. All the Michelin Guide, the stars, who won, who didn't get their stars, what they got right, what they got wrong. But welcome back to the show, Carlos. How are you today?
It's always a pleasure to be here, Mike. It's great. This is one of the most fun things I do regarding our work here.
We
So
try to
I'm
have
always
fun,
happy to do it.
but you got ripped off today because you didn't get to come out to one of our live shows where usually the restaurateurs just slaughter us with the entire menu, as happened yesterday at the new renovated, reopened Juan's, formerly known as Christina Juan's Mandarin House in Fort Lauderdale, where Alex Cook, who is Christina Juan's nephew and fourth generation owner, just hit us with the entire menu. And I know Defo, did Lubie come up and make a special delivery of the
I have it though.
oh,
What kind of question is that, Mike Mayo?
I have it to give to him. Actually, I was in a rush yesterday. My father.
he was talking a big game about, this one I really got to bring in and run it up to Defo. He would really.
He's like Tom Thibodeau, blaming the refs after the ball game. Never mind
The butcher.
Firing from outside. No, there was no way Louis was coming by here. Although that looked like a different adaptation or extrapolation on the mapo tofu that you would commonly get at, say, your more common or run-of-the-mill Chinese places. I'm not sure. Not that any of it is bad, but it looked like an elevated version. I don't know how you found it.
Well, what's your former spot? The one that
I've got this
May's Kitchen.
I've seen them blown in a lot of places also. May's Kitchen would not exactly be a place I would trust to make.
How do they usually present it? Like to go? It's in one of those like
in a tin, like any other dinner. If you ordered an entree at a Chinese restaurant, and it depends. I mean, some guys really do a much better job than others. But if it's on the menus, my theory, and I don't know if Carlos agrees. Mayo, he says, hey, you shouldn't order certain things at certain restaurants. We all know that restaurants specialize, and maybe the seafood's better than the steaks at a certain place. But my theory, Carlos, is if you have it on the menu, it should be representative. It should at least be something decent. It shouldn't be something that you think afterwards, oh, my God, I'll never order that again.
Which is why you can trust that that Cheesecake Factory can make those 175 items on their menu perfectly.
It may not all be the best you've ever had, but it shouldn't be an atrocity. That's kind of where
it should not be an atrocity. I agree. If you're gonna be bold enough to put something on their menu, it should look and smell and taste like what it's supposed to be, right?
The tofu is usually cut smaller, and it is drowned in a brown spicy sauce with pork or a little bit of beef, but that's not the dominant, ingredient.
Are you a tofu guy? I did not take you for a tofu guy, Defo.
I normally wouldn't be.
Like Defo tofu, there's a sponsorship opportunity there. I think we're really missing that.
Which this was. See, even Mike Mayo, who was just as aghast, Carlos, as you are, at the original suggestion about a mapo tofu, he laughed at me and mocked me. Thought I was ordering a tuna sandwich on white at some fancy place, but. Yeah, I mean, done right, it can be great. I think that's a real good dish. I don't know if you're a big Mapu tofu guy, Carlos.
Well, I saw that, Carlos. You mentioned some Chinese place that was a pop up, and is this like a real Chinese? You know what? Oh, that's it's.
Let me frame it.
You
Let me
frame
frame
it.
it.
Go
that
ahead.
way, I'll keep you from putting yourself in trouble. How's that?
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
So a couple weeks ago, these guys that own Tam Tam. Okay, so there's a restaurant in downtown Miami called Tam Tam. That's I think they're on the Michelin list. They
Recommended,
they're yeah,
One
and
or
it's like a Vietnamese. It's Vietnamese, but it's kind of like drinking food. So it's like heavier, spicier things that you have with like, beer and cocktails and stuff. And they've had a lot of success. And they decided it's owned by a Vietnamese guy and his husband. And they decided they wanted to do a Chinese concept. So they've been working with this guy who was doing pop-ups, and they opened this spot as a pop-up in like right off the 79th Street Causeway in Miami.
Oh, yeah.
And the idea was, let's do classic Chinese American dishes.
Right.
Like they're not going crazy with like, oh, we're gonna do Hunan specific.
Right. They're doing like Kung Pao chicken or General Tso's chicken or
that kind of idea, right? And like, but let's try to do an interesting version of it. And so they've done this, and it's really good. It's really good. My impression was, and this is after they'd only been open for a couple weeks. I think they've been open for less than a month now. My impression was that this it ticks all the right boxes. Like it's got the great atmosphere and the music and the hospitality. Really, like folks are, and we went on our own, paid our own way, no sponsorships or anything, very, very quietly, just had a meal there. And the food was good. Everything was really good. It was like, there's some people that think that you can eat that food in your living room on its own, and is it the best bite that I've ever had? And I think that it has to be part of a whole complex, right? Like it's almost like the difference between a tasting room, right, where you just go into this stark white room and eat these perfect little dishes, and you're just hyper focused on that. And this is not that kind of a place. This is like, come eat really good versions of some of these Chinese American classics, and enjoy like having a night out.
And I think that's what Alex is doing now at the Wands. That he's fourth generation. He ran and started this Temple Street Eatery, which was kind of a Chino Latino fusion concept. That was a fast casual place that now they have like two locations. But now he's stepped away from that, and he's just focusing on the old school family business. But he's trying to spin it into the 21st century with some more modern flavors. He's got a pastry chef friend that's doing some different desserts, like a black sesame seed panna cotta type thing, and not just your usual pistachio ice cream, which I'm ragging on him about. But and I think it's nice when you get something that has a little bit better service. Because when I said, growing up in Brooklyn, and we had some great old school Chinese American places, but when you said authentic Chinese, then you thought of like the waiters who are just like snarling at you in Cantonese or Mandarin, and then the if you go back in the kitchen, the chef, the cigarette is dangling from his lips with the ash, almost like getting
authentic New York Chinese American. It's like a lot of modifiers on there.
Yeah. So it's look, good food is good food, and I think that's what that's what Michelin, I don't know if it's all about. We're gonna do a kind of deeper dive. We talked extensively about the the additions of Broward and Palm Beach counties, and not as many as people were hoping or expecting, where in each county only one restaurant got a star, and in the case of Broward, is actually only half of one restaurant. Wasn't even the full restaurant mas, it was just the chef's counter, which we were talking about this yesterday, about
that's an odd way to slice the pie, right?
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
If you eat at the chef's counter, it's a Michelin star meal. If you eat anywhere else, you're eating out of the garbage.
You're eating dog food. I still remember Caddyshack. Hey, but before we get into the food and Michelin heavy conversation, I did want to, since you're an old sports writer and I'm an old sports writer, and Defo is a longtime sportscaster. We got playoffs cranking up. The Panthers get their Stanley Cup defense started up tonight, and lo and behold, they don't even have any home ice advantage in any of their series. They're a number 5 seed, and they have to go on the road to Tampa. And then we also have the Heat not looking very Heat-like in their opening shellacking at Cleveland, and the Knicks blowing. Well, they were down and they tried to come back, and then they just absolutely crapped the bed in the last minute. Defo, do you have any thoughts or impressions about where the local teams are? And just now, I love this time of year. I just love playoff time because I could actually watch basketball and hockey, unlike the regular season, which I find unwatchable.
Oh, it was phenomenal. The last couple of minutes of a regular season hockey game, if it's a 1-goal game or tied, are usually spectacular. There's just laced with tension and drama, and every bounce of the puck seems significant. Amplify that exponentially in the playoffs. And you had last night, I believe, every game was a 1-goal game or went into overtime. And each time you looked at the different spots where these games were being played, the crowd is going bananas. The intensity was fantastic. So very enjoyable. Lightning and the Panthers, we've said it many times. Lubie would agree with me. We've had this discussion a zillion times. It's the only in-state professional sports rivalry that has any substance to it. Nobody cares about the Marlins and the Rays. Nobody cares about the Dolphins and
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Nobody cares about Orlando and the Heat.
Well, Florida State, maybe.
But on a pro level,
pro level,
one rivalry that has some steam to it. So I can't wait for this thing to start. I think it's a toss-up, and it'll be a wild time. And we saw last year and the last 2 years following the Panthers all the way to the finals, 1 loss, 1 win, how intense and how almost impossible it is to survive 4 series and win the Stanley Cup. So very exciting time. And the NBA is more of a chalk league, but I think the Heat did exactly what you would have expected them to in that first game, which was be somewhat contentious for a while and then ultimately lose. So I don't think they're going any further than this series, and now you're thinking maybe they get a game. I don't know. Lubie, what do you think about all of this?
And I know, what was it, ESPN or one of them had like 18 of the 24 people pick the Lightning. Look, the way the last month went, I would have probably picked the Lightning too. From what we know, Kachuk should be playing. And I think Ekblad should be in this series. If not game 1, he should be at some point in this series. If those two play and are themselves, the Panthers are the defending champions.
What did Ekblad do? He took a Sudafed, or what was
something
his...
by accident when he was in recovery or working out, and
Okay.
he didn't pull out. What was the back? He didn't put a Cinnamon Alvarez, where he was like lying, like he owned it. He said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know."
Okay.
He didn't.
But it wasn't like a Lance Armstrong blood doping.
No,
type of
it
thing.
wasn't like some hardcore steroid or anything. It was definitely questionable, and was definitely something that most organizations probably would have said whatever. But again, they're cracking down on stuff, and he didn't appeal. He actually handled it fine. But not having Ekblad, not having Kachuk, you bring in Marchand, and he's hurt. Like, they were down like 4 to 5 guys the last like 3 weeks to the month. So what you saw at the end of the season where they limped into the 5th seed is not the team you saw most of the year. Again, before that, they were challenging for, the Capitals ran away with it, but the 2nd seed in the conference and their division. So I think you're going to see closer to that team. And again, the Lightning are a legit team. They're a championship contender every year. These two teams do hate each other, and they have faced off often in the playoffs. I lean Panthers just because I think if they're healthy, their roster is one of the best in hockey. And they've done a really good job at just supplementing pieces, and their core is fantastic. I'm just curious to see what Kachuk, Ekblad, and Marchand have.
Carlos, have you been following or watching the Panthers at all? I mean, there was a stretch. Now that they're on over-the-air TV, I found that great because I actually was watching a bunch of games, and they were playing such high-caliber hockey at that one point, like in February and March, and then it just seems like they hit the skids and got the injury bug. I don't know what to make of it. I usually go in very negative with the Panthers' chances, but last year they proved me wrong. But hockey is one of those things where 8 seeds beat 1 seeds all the time. So a 5-4 is really a toss-up. Do you have any feelings? Do you think they're going to make it back to the Cup Finals, let alone repeating?
I've honestly, I'm glad that they're on, you should call it network TV, so that you can kind of pop in and watch them. And I've watched, maybe 10 minutes of hockey this year so far. So I don't have any takes other than I would love to see them make the most of this run. I mean, this is, every team gets to a point where where they're at their peak and they can draw in resources like they did, bring in new players to like basically make that last run. So really, I think anything short of at least making the Stanley Cup Finals is going to be a bit of a disappointment.
Considered a letdown.
Defo,
when it comes to the Heat, how do you define this postseason? What is going to be more satisfying for a Heat fan? Having the Heat maybe sneak out a win or two against the number 1 seed, or having Jimmy Butler flame out and go out as early as possible?
Lubie can't stand it because everyone around the country is just layering and loading adulation on Jimmy Butler, now contending that Curry and Butler are the most dynamic duo of any two players put together on any team in the NBA. And he has been good in the playoffs. There's no question. He ratchets up his game a little bit, although he was just a sulking player here, and we know that's never advantageous to having success as a team or an individual. I think, look, you can't be dissatisfied. They managed to at least get themselves into the field. It was not the most favorable season for the Miami Heat. There was some ugly drama and turmoil all year long with Jimmy Butler. They unfortunately drew the number 1 seed. It was either going to be that or the number 2 seed, which is Boston, which a lot of people think is an even stronger opponent. So, if they win one game, I think it's clear they need something dramatic to happen if they're going to be title contenders again.
Carlos,
I'm going to be. I'm mostly. I'm watching the Heat because obviously the Heat. And I'm from here, and I'd love to see them do well. But I agree, Defo. If they steal one, it'll be that. It'll be a stolen game. I'm just kind of focusing on like other things in the NBA that I'm interested in, that I'm excited about. Like, I love Anthony Edwards. Like, I fell in love with him in the last couple of years. I'll just be watching those T-Wolves games just because I find him so entertaining. There's something about that D Wade style of play. You just crashing the rim. Like, I just find that's an exciting brand of basketball. So I love what he does. Although I understand that, being the 7-foot 3-point shooter is what everybody's excited about, but not for me. That's not. So I'm going to be watching Edwards, and like everybody else, I want to see whether the Lakers are going to make the most of Luka, or whether they're going to flame out. Like that first game was such a shock. I think it was a real shock. So I'm just watching Luka and the Lakers, and I'll just be watching Anthony Edwards for fun.
People on this show should appreciate Mike and Carlos and Lubie that Luka ate himself into a position where the Dallas Mavericks decided, guy's too fat to play defense. Let's get him out of here.
Let's see Dallas. He took it literally.
Yeah.
But there's been some very effective fat guys in the NBA. I mean,
that's true.
Charles Barkley when he was the round mound.
The rebound.
When you see Barkley and video and pictures of him from when he was the round mound of rebound, he was svelte. What are you talking?
He was still pretty chiseled.
He was still pretty strong.
Shaq was a big boy at one point.
By the end of it, Shaq.
The bloated Shaq at the end of his career was something that we can find much more relatable. No question.
Hey, all right, so we did a little sports talk. That's kind of the appetizer. The thing I like about sports and about the playoffs is there's a scoreboard. You know who wins and loses. There's no whining. There's no recounts. There's no storming of the Capitol or the NBA headquarters. Whereas,
is Carlos old school or new school when it comes to ballpark food? Or were you happy? Well, I mean, I go all the way back to when the Dirty Wonder Dog was a big thing, and they were a quarter. Now they have all this foo-foo stuff. I don't know if you've been to stadiums or arenas recently, but
I have. I'm definitely.
Are you a fan of the food scene that they have at ballparks now?
No.
No,
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it because it's just a smaller portioned, more expensive, worse done version of a thing that you'd get at the regular restaurant. Unless it's like a local place that does kind of street foodish to begin with. Like Miami had the Marlins had a like a mom and pop did like a pork sandwich.
Yeah, they
place that was famous for doing a pork sandwich, and guess what? That holds up pretty well. But like, do I want to be in 100-degree weather at the Marlins game eating sushi? I do not. I don't want
air
that.
conditioned.
I'd rather have a hot dog.
Closed. Yeah.
I'd rather just give me the cold, crappy beer and give me the overspun hot dog, and I'm okay with that.
I was
That's
going
the
to ask
experience
you
I want.
if you've availed yourself. I think the Marlins that they've gotten desperate for fans, although their product is surprisingly good this year. But they have those all you can eat deals where if for $44 you go in, you could have all the hot dogs that you want. I don't know if it's peanuts and Cracker Jack too,
That
but
seems like a mistake.
Yeah.
All the hot dogs you can eat sounds like
depends on the hot dog.
self-immolation. Yeah,
Hot dogs, hamburgers, popcorn, and nachos. It's literally all the stuff that'll have you.
Are they still doing that?
Oh, I don't know.
they are. They are.
4 for 44, where they give you 4 drinks, 4
Okay.
tickets, 4 hot dogs.
That one.
They
That's the
do
one.
have an
That's for
unlimited thing, but if the hot dogs are in aluminum foil, that's a scratch for me. I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as they hand you that dog and it's in aluminum foil, you may as well just put a line right through that.
It's like a pizza. Once you put the pizza in the box, it just loses its life. Once you put
Oh, you don't mind? I don't mind the hot dog becoming kind of staying steamy and just becoming like a mush that you just
Moist
this
bread.
hot dog flavored catastrophe.
Runs
It's a
are like
mush.
in the Nathan's
I don't
hot
mind
dog
it.
eating contest where you got
Yeah.
Jerry Chestnut drowning in the water before you
wad
suck.
up the ball of the bun and just stick it in your mouth, and then
Mr. Crunchy, Mike Mayo could never stand for that. I'm
No,
surprised you-
I need a hot dog with a good snap on it. But anyway, no. And the thing about the ballpark food is, you need a second mortgage. You talk about like some of these Michelin star restaurants be expensive. You spend as much as a Michelin star meal at some of these freaking ball games and arenas, and all you're getting is a hot dog and something, a beer, a hot dog, and some popcorn is $50. And I'm sorry, maybe I would rather go for the $400 a person omakase experience at some sushi den that the Michelin people love.
How about we do an omakase at the baseball stadium, right? Like you come out and they just put down they put like one of those airline trays out in front of you with a bunch of omakase, and then a foul ball comes into the stands and
The sushi
bounces off your head and you spill everything. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
I'd like to see it if the Marlins are doing those unlimited dining things. I should go one night a day, and Lubie, you should tape me.
I'll
We
go
should do a
with you. Yeah,
segment,
I'll go with you and
see
see
how
what
much I could eat. Although I'm not
carry
eating.
the franchise. They're on thin ice in terms of their financial situation.
I don't think they are. I think they're doing just fine. They just know how to cook the books.
Yeah.
Speaking of cooking. All right, let's take our first break, and then we'll come back and we'll get into the nitty-gritty about the thing that isn't defined on a scoreboard, but is very murky and mysterious and very subjective. And that's talking about the Michelin Guide and their ratings and who gets stars and who gets bib gourmands and who gets included as a recommended and who gets shut out and who, all these things. We'll be diving into that. But first, before we take our break, I've got some big news from our friends and great longtime sponsors, Tropical Acres Steakhouse. You know how the other day we were talking about how the price of lobster has apparently just gone through the roof, like these, live Maine Northeast lobsters, wholesale even has gone over $20 a pound. And how do you give away any kind of special? How do you even price a lobster on a menu when the wholesale prices are so high? Well, you know what? Jack Studiali and his family, they have found a way because they have a long-standing relationship with this one purveyor that's actually up in New Hampshire that gets lobsters from the New England and Maine area. And this is the shocking thing. Somebody texted me this morning about, is Tropical Acres starting their twin lobster special early this year? Because it usually starts after Mother's Day.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, they have found it and found a way. They are starting the twin lobster special today.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's going all through the summer. And get this. They have, you figured, wholesale lobster price, and it's twin 1 to 1.25 pound, what they call the chick lobsters. You get 2 of them. You get a salad and a side dish. Last year, it was $39. I thought this year, with the price of lobster, it's going to be $45, maybe $48. No, they have found a way that they're still maintaining their low prices. $39 again this year.
Wow.
So you could go into Tropical Acres tonight and get the twin lobster special while supplies last. Again, it is a Monday through Friday night special. And as long as supplies last, you can get those twin steamed live New England lobsters. Such a great deal. Tonight is also half price wine night, and you could have half price happy hour on the bar, 4:30 to 6:30. It is crazy good value. $8 Belvedere martini, followed by like you can get a bottle of good California Cabernet Sauvignon for like $30, $25 a bottle. And then you get yourself a $39 Twin Lobster special. This is why I love Tropical Acres, and this is why they've been in business for 75 years. They know how to treat their guests right. You will love it. I love it. Go into Tropical Acres. And don't forget, Mother's Day, they will be open on Sunday, Mother's Day, from 1 to 8 p.m. Book now for your reservations. They are so old school. The only way you can get a reservation is by picking up a telephone or, one of these phones, 954-989-2500. Make a reservation today, the old-fashioned way, for whether it be this weekend or Mother's Day. You'll love it. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. All right, let's take that first break, and we'll be back with more on the Lunchbox after these words. When people ask me about the best restaurants in South Florida, Casa d'Angelo is always at the top of my list. First-class dining, top-flight service, elegant atmosphere, and chef-founder Angelo Ilia is legendary. The flagship in Fort Lauderdale has been serving the finest Italian cuisine since 1997, with other locations in Boca Raton and Aventura. As Angelo himself says, they have an unwavering commitment to unparalleled quality with meticulous attention to details. It's so good, with house-made pastas, pristine seafood, unique meats like elk chops and bison, and seasonal specialties including fragrant fresh truffles from Italy. All locations open 7 days for dinner. Reservations recommended. For a special occasion or any occasion, Casa d'Angelo. Tell them Mike Mayo sent you. Hey, it's Mayo for Gilbert's 17th Street Grill. You know me, I love family-run places with quality food at fair prices served with passion and pride. And that's why I love Gilbert's. For more than a decade, Lenore, Beth, and Richie Gilbert have been serving up the best burgers, wings, ribs, salads, and desserts. It's a fast casual spot. Everything prepared fresh to order from an immaculate open kitchen. They're at 1821 Cordova Road in Fort Lauderdale in the Cordova Shops just south of 17th Street. Open every day but Sunday. One of my favorite burgers in South Florida. Big, round, juicy pucks of 100% Angus beef, char grilled to perfection. And don't miss the sweet potato fries on the side. They're legendary. Go to Gilbert's, feast, and be happy. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Delicious Mexican food with innovative twists. Margaritas with a medley of tongue-tingling flavors. I'm talking about Taco Craft, Taqueria, and Tequila Bar. The place to go on Taco Tuesday and every day. It's located at 510 North Federal and Highway in Fort Lauderdale, and also in Lauderdale by the Sea at Plantation Walk and Coral Springs. Taco Craft has specials every day, including bottomless drinks for a Sunday brunch, and Taco Tuesdays, including their new birria tacos with bone marrow broth. Oh, it's so good. They've even made a taco lover out of me, and they've got so much more, including fajitas, that open-faced smashed cheeseburger tortilla that's new, and a guacamole sample that's an explosion of flavors. The kitchen is open late. There's delivery and takeout. For more information, go to tacocraft.com. When people come to me and say, Mike, where should I go out to eat? I got guests come. Oh, are we back?
I want to.
When people come to me and say, Mike, where should I go out to eat? I got guests coming from out of town. Where should we go? Cafe Seville. That's the answer. 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. It's a Fort Lauderdale perennial, serving the finest in Spanish and continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly, comfortable setting. Joey Esposito and Sally, his better half, they've been running the place for a long time. It's been open since the 1980s. They got great Spanish classics like paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, and all kinds of great seafood dishes. The stuffed veal chop, oh, that's my favorite. Go to Cafe Seville. It's open every day but Sunday at 5 p.m. for dinner. Tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent you. Feel like getting away without leaving town? Then you got to check out the House on the River in Fort Lauderdale. It's a beautiful restored historic home with indoor and outdoor dining right on the new river. You'll think you're in Charleston or Savannah. It has a gorgeous patio, porches, and private dining areas, and it offers unique experiences perfect for a date night or fun times with friends and family. It has weekend brunches, happy hour, dinner Wednesday through Sunday. There's also a high tea on Friday and Saturdays, and the popular House of Veuve Champagne experience on weekends. The House on the River is in Fort Lauderdale's Himmershey district, just south of the Science Museum. For reservations and information, All right, now we're back on the Lunchbox with 2 times James Beard Award winning writer Carlos Frias. Used to be with the Miami Herald. Now you could see his byline all over the place. Washington Post, New York Times.
Nice.
Am I leaving any publications out? Are you branched
Coming soon. I got something. I got something fun in the Financial Times, in the pink paper, as we
Financial
call
Times?
it.
The pink sheets. Wow.
Any racing form
yes.
by any chance?
Oh yeah, I could use one of those. Double my money, man. I need to do it right now.
Yeah, that's getting harder and harder. I've got action in the Derby Future book. I'm very excited because I have a 5-horse exacta box. I was looking at the probables, and actually 4 out of my 5 horses are actually going to be in the race, God willing, and no more injuries. And some of them are coming back like $3,400, and but I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll get to the race.
I will say this, before we came on here, I was in between shows, and I realized that Netflix feature documentary called Race for the Crown was debuting today. I watched about the first half hour of it. I mean, if you're a fan of sports, great sports production, great artistic shots being done, and then a great story. It looks absolutely sensational. Like must-see TV for any racing fan, and anybody would enjoy it on Netflix. It's called Race for the Crown.
Nice.
I think that's how they're picking the next pope too. I think.
No, well,
we already know who that's going to be.
Well, that was
Too soon. Sorry if it's too soon.
No, it's not. I mean, it's reality.
I have Trump at 20,000.
No,
nobody was going to win the nomination the first time.
There you go.
Actually, I was learning about the process that any baptized male is eligible to be pope. You don't necessarily have to be a cardinal, but going back for the last, I don't know, 1,000 years, they tend to pick their own. So
if you could
cardinals.
declare yourself pope, though, it would already be a fait
Well,
accompli.
Edwin Pope was the pope, and then of course we have Anthony Bruno. He's like the pope of the South Florida dining scene down here.
Lately, I've been seeing a lot of Eddie Pope in documentaries, sports documentaries. I think he was in that 30 for 30 on the 1983 draft that aired the other night.
Yeah,
and there's a young Eddie Pope out there, and he's been popping up everywhere. Eddie Pope,
well, it's always
great American.
See that, Edwin. I do miss him. I loved hanging out on the road with him. He was a great, classic, legendary sports scribe. All right. And talking about things online with the Pope. Not online, but last night, Val and I, we did rent and watch Conclave, which was the movie that came out last year. A fictional account of a papal election, and it was very intriguing. And I don't think did you see that one, Carlos? Did you?
No, but that's on my to watch. That's on my to watch because that's Liam Neeson in that, right? Or
no,
not
it was
Liam Neeson,
actually
that's, Ralph Fiennes.
Great cast. Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, and Ralph Fiennes are like the 3 leads, and they're tremendous actors.
That's pretty great.
And, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but let's just say that whoever gets selected Pope in a few weeks, not going to be the same kind of plot twist as this movie had, but worthwhile. Great acting and some good. They got some good insight and inside access to the whole process. So that's recommended. All right, let's get into the meat of the matter today, and that is the Michelin Guide. We talked about, for the first time, Broward and Palm Beach counties, and you used to work at the Palm Beach Post and was a feature writer up there. Did you do the food scene up there, or was that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. That's kind of how I ended up in Miami. Ended up writing about half the stuff I was doing was about food.
Yeah.
And I think, and so, I was watching it too, like you guys. I was watching it to see, who were going to be the first places on their recommended list. And then if anybody got a star, which somebody did.
Yeah, so only one restaurant in each county. Again, it was only half of a restaurant in Broward. The Chef's Counter at Moss, which is one of the restaurants at the Four Seasons on the beach, one of these fancy resorts. And then the only restaurant in Palm Beach County that got it was a place called Conroe, a little bit of a controversial place. It's also a very expensive place. And this, to me, we were talking about this, Carlos, yesterday, is, that the Michelin Guide seems to, when it comes to the stars, they seem to have a very particular set. And I figured it out. I call it the 3 Ps. It's usually pricey, precious, and pretentious. And so that it's, small plates, omakase experiences, even if it's not a Japanese place, but that style of it's very little, pretty, and, almost like you're afraid to eat it because it looks like an art piece or something. And Conroe is one of those places. It comes from a chef by the name of Jacob Hickelhopt or Mickle. You know what? I totally
Bickelhopt.
Bickelhopt. Thank you.
Bickelhopt.
And he ran a restaurant in Chicago called 42 Grams, which is either the amount of cocaine
Was that the prefix? My son's eating at that place in Chicago. It's like $700 a pop.
No, well, that one is closed a few years because there's another one called the Linear. Like Chicago seems to have all these kind of very molecular gastronomy, fancy food places. But this place was called 42 Grams. I was going to make a cocaine joke about your old days, but no, it's
cocaine. It feels like
it's actually
cocaine was cheap back in the day.
Yeah, but cheaper than a meal at some of these restaurants now. But he got run out of. Well, he shut his restaurant in Chicago. He had what you call an unfortunate incident, or some would say a brutal domestic violence attack. His wife at the time and him got into a fight, and he smashed her wine bottle over her head, causing serious injury. And
then tend to do that. I mean,
yeah.
If you've ever had a bottle cracked across your skull, it's not.
it not hurt you.
Let me tell you, I read that story that you sent me earlier today, Mike. This was, I think this happened back in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And it was brutal. It was a diner that saw it happen and just called the cops because that diner was witnessing, an attack, like an assault.
Right.
And I read that story and I was like, man, I don't know how you. I was actually Googling to see if there was any kind of resolution to that.
There was. He basically, he was arrested. I think he pled guilty. He also said it was alcohol induced. He's gone into recovery. He's tried to, clean up his act. He moved to Denver, opened a restaurant there for a few years, and then he came to West Palm Beach a few years back. I think he opened Conroe like 3 years ago, and the food looks spectacular, and everybody says it's great food. I guess I believe in second chances, but do you reward with this guy with this type of, laudatory thing? Where in Palm Beach County, a guy who's been a hardworking, good reputation chef who came up under the wing of Michelle Bernstein by the name of Clay Conley has run Bucan on the island of Palm Beach. And I assume you've been there. And a lot of people are surprised that Bucan, while they got included as a recommended, did not get a star. And whereas a place like Conroe with a chef with a checkered past did.
Well, here's how I've looked at it. And when I wrote about sports and I would write, stories about the people behind the sports, like these athletes, and something very interesting and critical about their life, most people didn't care as long as that athlete was just performing well. And I think only now, you see it with the players that we've allowed to play in the NFL. Tyreek Hill is a perfect example.
Yeah.
If you play well and you're having a great season, people overlook things, and then once you don't start playing so well, they're like, "Wait, didn't that guy? Wasn't that guy arrested for beating on his wife?" And that's when people pay attention. And I think Michelin, it's a guide, right? Like you're trying to just create good food experiences, and they're agnostic to who the people behind. I've never seen Michelin come out and say, "Well, we saw something terrible happen, so we're going to remove a star for that." No, they don't even give stars to the actual chefs.
Right. It's to the restaurant. Yeah.
Right. It's to the restaurant. Forget that the chef gave of his own blood and sweat and tears and created this thing that was totally unique. If he leaves, he doesn't get to take his stars with him, which I think is ridiculous. But it's a reflection on Michelin, which is all about the end result. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of why I have not a problem with Michelin. People know that I've said it over the years that it comes off like as an award when it's really this guidebook, that if you're going to create a guidebook for an area, you better have restaurants in it.
Yeah, especially if the county is paying you, the tourism boards are paying you to have
paying you $500,000 to do
right.
it. You better put some restaurants in there in some capacity. If it was truly award type of things, then maybe you'd have one place with a star. Palm Beach, you'd open the guidebook, it's one restaurant.
Right.
And there'd be nothing else. So I tend to take it much more with a grain of salt.
Okay.
And I also want to get your thoughts on this, but there's no it's very opaque, right? We don't know who these tasters are, how the place is judged, how often people go. We don't know any of those actual criteria. It's very opaque, and that makes it hard for me to take something like that too seriously for myself. Now, if you're a chef, I mean, it's a huge deal because getting a star means that you increase the amount
I
of
imagine
people
it's like a
that
James
see your
Beard
place.
Award. It's like when you don't win one, they're yeah, okay, it's subjective. But if you do win one, you start
It's
polishing them every day in front.
right, right, yeah.
But like,
No,
You
no,
might
but
put a
to
little frame. You might have
no,
a little frame where you
no, but
keep one
to
or
its
two of
credit,
them.
the Beard Awards do factor in other external factors. Like if you
Right.
have
There's
a
no
history
beard
of
guide. There's no beard guide. Like there's no pay to play. No, the restaurants aren't paying James other than like I think they apply like $25 if they want to be considered.
right,
You know, so it's
It's
some
just
little minor
little nomination form.
Yeah, it's like got to do paperwork and what have you. But I think that that's much more of a real prize, and it's not comprehensive, right? There's tens of thousands of restaurants in the country, and when you give a prize, it doesn't mean that you've weighed them all. It's kind of like a great job for doing something for your community that we've noticed, and here's a prize for it. And yes, it can increase traffic in a similar way. I think that Michelin does. It's hard to compare those
there's-
apples to apples.
There's definitely
But-
foodie tourism, and there are people
Right.
who just buy the guide or look at the list and want to tick it off because there are kinds of people like that. Even though I say it shouldn't be the be all or end all for either the restaurants or the people eating at restaurants, because there are many places that are overlooked that I would say belonged in the guide, even as a recommended, or they missed some bib gourmands. I mean, our friends Timon and Marissa at the Catherine, I thought should have been included as a recommended restaurant at least, if not a bib gourmand, because they're pricing is very affordable considering the level and quality of the food. So we could, it's one of those things where you do take it with a grain of salt, but some people do take it very religiously and will follow around and want to check off the list and go to every starred place. It would be a short and very doable thing in the two counties up here because there's only one, or really a half-star place in Browse. You got to sit at the chef's counter, and I think they're up to like 300 a person. And let me get into Conroe because, I feel bad for Buchan. He had a lot of supporters, and a lot of people thought he should have gotten maybe the star. And then we have our friend Pushkar Marath, who has stage, that does an excellent job. I thought he should have got a bib gourmand, and I think he got in as recommended. I'm not even sure about that.
See, even the bib gourmand is kind of nebulous because Zach the baker lost his bib gourmand,
and he's great.
It's a bakery, and it's a bakery,
right? And Zitz Sum still has bib gourmand, and they're charging like $150 tasting menu. So what kind of great value is that? And
I don't understand it. I don't understand that those things they're not clear enough to me for me to make any valuation. I think if you're a restaurant, I think if your name is mentioned in the same breath by Michelin, that's good enough. And if it has a star, then you go up another level. So I guess that's how they take it. But for me, as someone who's looking at it a little bit more critically, right? Like we're looking at it a little bit more critically. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It doesn't really hold water. I don't know.
All right, not to hate on this one guy at Conroe, and I'll forgive his past. He's moved on. He's paid his debt. And he's been through the legal system. But just what his restaurant stands for, it's like only 15 or 16 seats. They have one seating nightly at 6:45, and this is from their website. We unlock our doors at 6:40 p.m., and we ask all guests to arrive on time by 6:45 p.m. We understand life happens, but we will start without you, and you can join us later if you want. And then it says, we do not make any accommodations for any food sensitivities or allergies. What we have on the menu is what you get. So like, in the case of my girlfriend who's allergic to carrots and oranges and a lot of the food prep, I can't even go there because, they're not going to, accommodate special allergies or dietary needs. And also, basically they're saying if you don't add on, and this is a prepaid place, So when you book your reservation, you put the entire cost on a credit card, including tip, except if you want to leave a tip in cash, you can come that night and just give the cash tip. All right. Do you want to know what the basic meal is? A 10 to 14 course tasting menu at Conroe per person. How much do you want to take a gander at how much it is at Conroe? 10 to 14 courses per person.
Let's go around. Let's go around the horn.
He told us, right? I'll say 250.
600.
All right, $440 for your basic dinner. However,
I was going to guess 300. $440.
Okay.
Person.
And if you want wine or alcohol, they don't have wines by the glass or wines by the bottle. All they have is a wine pairing. That's your only option. You cannot bring your own bottle.
200. Two bills?
$295 for your wine.
300.
And they highly recommend all guests do the A5 Wagyu supplement, which is $125 because that is the pièce de résistance, the dish that made him famous in Chicago, that the restaurant earned a two Michelin star restaurant, was this Wagyu beef in this very special aged soy sauce available only from one, producer in Japan. It's like a 12-year aged soy sauce. They call it the drunken Wagyu. So that's another 125. If you go the whole shebang,
You'd have to be a drunken diner to pay $800.
Does that come with a baked potato? Does it come?
I think that was I think I stole.
baked potato. I don't know. The baked potato might be included or might not. But if you tally up, if you get the wine with the basic and the Wagyu, drunken Wagyu, $860, then you're adding 7% tax and 20% tip, $1,100 per person if you go the full shebang.
We just went
That's
to
how you
Spain.
get a star from these Michelin people.
Yeah, exactly. We just went to Spain
Like
for
they're
over
sending you
7
down
days.
a very, very sordid and negative path at that
I don't
time.
think we spent that.
It's
That's-
hard.
that's-
It's hard not to be.
Like,
It's hard to take that seriously, right?
Yeah.
It's hard, and the thing is, like Conroe, there are every place that's a 2-star place. Well, no, let me not say that, but that's a very common experience with the restaurants that you find in that guide, and that makes me, I don't know, I get past outrage to I just find it ridiculous.
Well, there's
Should
a
be,
lot
should
of
be a
money.
book burning, though. I mean, just as soon as you get the guy, just set it on fire.
Yeah.
Do it with the PGA rule book whenever we were golfing. Just set it on fire at the first tee.
Now, there's a lot of money down here. Obviously, there's a lot of the 1%. But I have a cutoff. Like, I played golf, I covered golf, but I had a cutoff of what I was willing to pay as far as a greens fee. I in my mind, no round of golf should ever be worth more than Pebble Beach at the time I was covering it was $500 a round, and even that I thought was I said I would never pay and this was going back 20, 30 years. I would never pay more than $200 for a round of golf. Now I guess inflation, maybe I would pay for, but it's the same thing with a meal. Like, there's only so much, and it's not even a
end. Like, I mean, again, like, we just went to Spain for like 7 days. Both of us together, I don't think we spent 25. Like, that's $2,300 for one meal. And I get it's food, and if you have the money, go for it. I never judge people, but it's still like, I don't know. There's like, to me, what are you getting past the service? Like, we go to a lot of great places and they do great things, and I'm all for different levels of food, but $2,300 for one meal for two people. It's not a party. It's not a retirement thing. This is literally two people sitting down and having a meal. It's $2,300. I can't justify that. Like, I really couldn't. Like,
do you have a limit, Carlos? And when it's not on somebody's expense account, like, what is the most you pay?
I don't have a hard limit. It's kind of like, where am I at that point in my life? Like, I love Chicago, and I've been there a dozen times over the years. And I have always wanted to go to Alinea. And they have their price fixed menu is over $300 a person. It's like $350, I think, or something like that. And every time that I was like, maybe this will be the time that we go. And then we get there, and even if you can get a reservation, do I really want to be encroaching $1,000 for a meal out for me? And it's like, I can never justify it. I can never justify it. And not because I don't think that they'll do something that I won't remember. Like, I think that whatever they do will be memorable, and it'll be unique, and it'll be an experience that you'll talk about for years. That's true. But also, good God, like, that is just a lot. And look, in the comments here, I see Brian Schwartz mentioned that French Laundry is up to $390 a person. Now, I went to French Laundry the year before they made their debuts on the Michelin things. This was like 2002.
I was there the same year. It was my first wedding anniversary. Actually, 2003. It was before he opened up any other places in New York or Vegas. And it was all he had at the time was French Laundry. I'm talking about Thomas Keller and Bouchon, the original, right next door in Yountville, California. And I seem to recall it was me and my wife at the time. We had a dinner for two with a wine supplement. Like the regular tasting menu was like $1.75 and the wine was $1.20. So it was like $300 per person. With tax and tip, it was like $700, which at the time was an obscene amount of money, but it was a memorable meal. And he was on the premises and he gave us a great tour of the kitchen. We talked about he grew up in South Florida. I told him I was working at a newspaper there. And, it was a very memorable experience.
See, I had a similar experience with my ex-wife, and let's say that I still remember it as a positive experience, even though I went with my ex-wife and my
Ditto.
That's
Ditto.
a great experience.
So that was magical. But then on the other hand, I went to the chef's counter at Moss this past summer, and it was like again, got wine. It was 200. It ended up being like almost $400 for myself, and like a week later, I didn't remember any dish except one that was mediocre that had this kind of like a scallop and this French velouté sauce that was just like kind of a little bit. I only remembered it because it wasn't that good, and everything else just kind of floated away. And this is not to take away from Moss. I'm glad that they got their star, but it's not my style of dining. I would rather go to Skyline Chili, and I do think they deserve a bib gourmand at Skyline Chili because you can get out of there for $10 and you get nice and full, and you need to wear a bib so the chili doesn't splatter all over you. Hey, we got to take our second break, and let us before we do, real quick word, Casa d'Angelo. Tonight and tomorrow, this wine dinners they're having tonight in Aventura, tomorrow at the flagship in Fort Lauderdale. I kind of got invited, but I don't feel awkward because Dan Marino and Damon Eward have started this winery in Washington State called Passing Time Winery. Now, I actually did buy a bottle of the Passing Time Winery when I was at Casa d'Angelo for my anniversary dinner with Val over the weekend. Pretty pricey, but really good grape juice, really nice Cabernet Sauvignon. They're going to be having a multi-course dinner tomorrow. Now, I understand that Marino is bringing a big contingent, including our friend Kim Beaucamp is going to be out there. But I think they still do have some availability. And it is also a pricey dinner, but impeccable food, great wines. Go online to casa-d-angelo.com to see if you could still get a spot. I do know they have space for tonight in Aventura, and tomorrow night in Fort Lauderdale might be getting close to fully booked, but go online. And if you can't get in there for then, just go in any other night because Casa d'Angelo, one of my favorite places. And again, talk about a head scratcher, had a great meal, perfect, great food, impeccable service, great wine list. I mean, we sitting in that wine room. He's got like 18,000 bottles of wine all over the place. How does that not even merit a recommended? I mean, it's been one of my, perennial favorites in Broward for, it's been there since 1998. And I don't think I've ever had a bad meal there. So, again, head scratcher, what Michelin likes and doesn't like. But I know that Mike Mayo's Lunchbox likes and definitely recommends Casa d'Angelo. Go check it out for yourself one of these days. All right, let's take that second break, and we'll come back with Carlos Frias and more on the Lunchbox. Southern comfort food from a scratch kitchen, delicious drinks and house-made spirits from a craft bar, a great vibe inside and out with a spacious patio. I'm talking about Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap, Fort Lauderdale, in the heart of the city at 525 North Federal Highway. It's open 7 days for lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch with classics like fried chicken and waffles and shrimp and grits, and creative items like pecan-crusted salmon and a fried green tomato BLT. And the drinks? Smooth sipping and so good. There's convenient free parking and a garage next door, happy hour at the bar, an entire patio, 4 to 7 Monday to Friday, and live music every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's pet and people friendly and with cozy fire pits for when the temperature dips. For reservations and more information, go to batchsouthernkitchen.com. If you like seafood in a comfortable setting, outdoors, even keel fish shack at the corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard in Lauderdale by the Sea, and also now with a new location on Las Olas Boulevard. Those are my spots. upscale food in a down-home setting. The chef owners, Dave and Brad, do a terrific job with all the seafood classics that you want. They have the best grilled oysters in town, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, and deli fish specials. They also have weekend brunch Saturday and Sunday. They have deli happy hour 4 to 7, and they also have other weekly specials like mussels on Monday and oysters on Tuesday. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack and tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. If you want great Italian food in a beautiful beachfront setting, have I got the place for you. Casa Calabria at the Ocean Manor Resort, 4040 Galt Ocean Drive in Fort Lauderdale. Highly rated across all the restaurant review platforms and totally Mike Mayo's Lunchbox approved. Delicious, authentic Southern Italian food in a cozy dining room overlooking the Atlantic. Live music in the lounge, full bar, and a great wine list. Owner Frank Talrico takes great pride in his family recipes from his native Calabria. Fresh fish and seafood, veal, house-made pastas, and marinara sauces smooth as silk. You gotta try the imported meats and cheeses on the antipasto platters, and don't miss that ricotta gnocchi, fluffy little pillows straight from heaven. Casa Calabria, open for dinner Tuesday through Sunday, closed on Monday.
Hey Lunchbox fans, is it time to sell your business? You've poured your heart and soul into your restaurant or business, and you want to see continue the legacy you have built. Transworld can help. Call me, Andy Cagnetta, at Transworld Business Advisors right now and see if it's time for you to retire and relax. Iconic brands like the Mai Kai, Mulligan's, Carlos and Pepe's, Mangoes, and many more turn to Transworld to help sell. Contact Transworld on Facebook or call 954-772-1122 or visit tworld.com. Again, that's 954-772-1122 or tworld.com.
When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks, just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally. And they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks. They're open every day but Tuesday. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Guess who's back and better than ever? Juan's. For the best in classic old school Chinese cuisine, a family-run South Florida favorite since 1966. It's at 664 North Federal Highway in Fort Lauderdale, open every day but Tuesday for lunch and dinner. Chef Alex is carrying on the family tradition that started 4 generations ago. It used to be known as Christina Juan's Mandarin House, and you're going to love it as Juan's. They've got all your favorites: wonton soup, spare ribs, egg rolls, dumplings, Peking duck, and more. Combo lunch specials daily and takeout and delivery. For more information, go to their Instagram page at juans.fl. If you're looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more, go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 and the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value for tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. All right, we're back, and we're going to go a little overtime since it's playoff season, and we might as well get into the spirit of the playoffs with some overtime on the Lunchbox. And because we're talking about a tire guide, we took a roundabout route and put some wear on the tires, but we brought Carlos Frias in because he's our resident Miami-Dade expert, and Miami-Dade has been included in the guide for a few years, and they dominate because they have 66 restaurants that are included in the guide. Jeez. I think they have 15 restaurants that have been awarded stars. I believe is there just 2 of them now that has 2 stars? No, one of them has 2 stars in Miami. There's one in Orlando that has 2 stars. Only 2 in the whole state with 2 stars. But L'Atelier de Joël Robuchon has the 2 stars in Miami-Dade. But there's also another 14 that have stars. And there's a good representation mix. I don't know how many Bib Gourmands. I think like 12 or 15. And then another like 30 or so that are recommended. Carlos, when you went through the list of this year's, and there's some newcomers, and there's some people that didn't get stars but are included as recommended that maybe feel a little slighted. You want to give the rundown of what happened in Miami-Dade for this year's edition?
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me is, a couple months before they name the stars, they always say these are the new places we're adding as recommended. And so some of those places may then also get a Bib Gourmand, or they may get a star or more. And one of the ones I was surprised to, I believe it is recommended, but it didn't get any kind of star yet, was Sunny Steakhouse.
Right.
Which you and I chatted about this briefly, and that my thought is that they've not yet been open. I think they've been open 6 months. So I think deducing from the outside, right, because they don't give us the rules about why they give a star or not a star, deducing from the outside, they'll probably be open for a year before, like around this time next year, I think they'll get a star.
Okay.
That happened with, I ate at the guy that owns Moss, owns a place up in Orlando called Omo
Okay.
by Jaunt,
Mm-hmm.
OMO. And
Ryan
and
Ratino, that's one of his restaurants?
that's one of his restaurants, right?
Okay.
And I ate there. I was working on a story for the Washington Post there, and had like the full experience there, which is only tasting menu in Winter Park, which is a really cute, ritzy part of town, and I had a meal there that I thought this place could be the next 2-star restaurant in
good.
Florida.
Okay.
So I was actually surprised not to see it get 2. But that place, when I went in June, had been open for I think like 3 or 4 months. So by the time they awarded stars, it had been open over a year.
Okay.
So that's my guess.
And it got a star. And was that a tasting menu, or they have a la carte? Or
Yeah, it's a tasting menu. It's okay. So
how much
here's
was
what I liked
that
about
one? And did you,
know
pay
what?
for that?
It was I did not pay for it.
Oh, it was the Washington Post, right?
The Bezos paid for that, and like, as he should be
Tastes
paying
twice
for a
as
lot.
nice, huh? Yeah.
I should be paying for lots of things now. But it was like the starting price is $145 a person.
That's reasonable.
And then you add if you want to do a wine tasting or what have you, or you can have just a glass or whatever. But you come in and it's they want you to have like almost like moving through a house. Like you show up in the little part out front, there's like a little lounge area, and they give you some bites and a glass of champagne and a little cocktail. And then it's like after you've been there for a while, it's say, well, why don't you come into the dining room? And basically the dining room is like the Moss kitchen, where you're around the kitchen on this L-shaped,
Like
very
chef's
clean
counter. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all a chef's counter. Everybody's sitting at the counter. And then after dinner's done, after an hour or whatever, then you kind of move to a dessert room, like another room
like
where you
Burns.
would, you kind of sit in this dessert room, and they bring you the first of like 4 different dessert.
Oh,
Okay. That's
So,
an
like,
experience. That's nice.
yeah.
And I like moving around. It's like
It
you get a
really
little
was
extra
nice.
time.
And then after you're done, if you want to stay and have a cordial, like it's really set up to
Hospitable. That's in Winter Park. Yeah.
It's in Winter Park.
Now,
and
but
it's-
there's a place in Miami that we're both big fans of, and we know and love the Chang Gang. But Nando Chang and his place got a star, right?
Yes, the Itame, which is interesting, right? Because that place exists inside Mati's,
Yep.
which is a Peruvian restaurant, his sister's restaurant, back kind of off to the side of
Right.
it, and it's just a counter, which is Michelin, right? Like Michelin cares about omakase, Japanese, and French. Like those are their big.
Pricey, precious,
Yes.
and pretentious. And
Rice.
in this case, a little bit of Peruvian and the Nikkei, the Japanese.
The 4 Ps, Peruvian.
Peruvian, yeah. But he deserved. I mean, I love his
Yeah,
stuff,
he's-
and of course his sister got awarded a James Beard, like actual best region, best chef in the region last year. And now he's up for that as well.
Mm-hmm. And he's up for the same award, best chef in the South. Now, he's such a humble guy that I think he is really happy just to be nominated.
Yep.
But people love great stories, so I'm not surprised that if maybe there's another restaurant that the voters see as kind of equal, that they wouldn't give it, like sports writers. We never cheer for a team; we cheer for the best story.
Right.
And I think that that could win it. And Be
And
totally fine with that.
for him
Good
to
for
both conquer, that he's nominated as a beard, for best chef in the region, and also has gotten his star for a place that is relatively new. That means he's doing something right. And
Yep.
I still got to get in there, and now it's going to be more impossible than ever. But I'll use your name, Carlos. And
I don't
he's
know how
actually
far that'll get you, but
friend
you're
of the
welcome
show.
to
He's
try.
been on this show.
Yeah, we had him on a couple times.
Yeah.
Oh,
great.
good.
So-
Oh, good. He's great.
And no, the nice thing about the Miami list, there is a broader representation. I love the fact that Boya Day has gotten a star, and that's a place that, even though it's smaller, it's not a tasting menu. You can get out of there for $100 per person if you want, or even less if you're not drinking. And I do I like the job they did in the original of awarding of stars in Miami-Dade, and a lot of those places have, I think all of them have kept their stars so far, right?
Yep. Every place has. Every place has. I mean, we'll see. I always, when this time of year comes out, I always kind of, as the gadfly naysayer, I just wonder who's going to be the first, if there's going to be one to lose it. And, that'll be, all the, chickens running around and clucking at each other, I guess, if that happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take our third break. And I do appreciate the little bonus time. And, I find this stuff fascinating because I'm involved in the business, and I hear all the chatter and all the, the people who are, wondering why this one got and this one didn't. And it's like any other subjective, imperfect thing. And only this one is even more mysterious. And
Well, look, and I feel for the chefs that don't get it, but I do appreciate, and I was going to ask this, but Carlos answered it. Carlos saying, look, we don't even know how they get to any of this stuff. So to take it that seriously is sort of dumb if we have no idea how they get there. So, look, our friend Reno got the only Big Gourmand in Broward.
Broward, we love
Proud of
heritage.
him, and I'm so happy for him. But if he didn't get it, he wouldn't have cared. So that's sort of, it feels like almost why he did get.
Have you been to Heritage yet, Carlos?
I haven't. I
you gotta
haven't.
go.
But I thought the same thing. Somebody got mad at me last year. I'm not going to say who it was, but got mad at me for when the stars were first coming out and say, how could you disparage these stars? Because I called it fancy Yelp.
Yeah.
People didn't like that. And I said, I'm not, it's just because I don't put a lot of, I know what it does for your marketing. I know what it does for your bookings and everything else. But does it mean that your restaurant wasn't any good before then? Were you not proud of what you were doing there before somebody came along and gave you a literal gold star like you're a kindergartner, Like if you're proud of the work that you do, if you love being in hospitality and you love the restaurant that you're doing, I'm sure it's wonderful to get a star, but I'm sure you're not thinking my place is any less than, because it's not.
Yeah, if you're packing the house every night and you see happy faces and people just enjoying themselves, that should be reward unto itself. And as a wise man, Mark Falsetto once told me, pay attention to your register, not your reviews. So don't pay attention to all the Yelpers and all the chirpers and all the people who know nothing. If you're making money and people are coming in every night, then that means you're doing your job as a restaurateur. So,
Yep, amen.
And the search continues. What would you say? Okay, Sonny's, I know a lot of people, everybody I know in the business and other food friends of mine, they love it. And nobody's said a bad word about that Sonny's Steakhouse that's up in the, I guess, Little River area. And it's from the same guys as Jaguar Sun. Is that right? Or is that,
yeah. The guys own the bar, Jaguar Sun.
Okay.
And they closed that
is
to focus on the restaurant, basically. Yeah.
Is there any place in Miami that you feel has been totally overlooked or deserves either a star or a bib that, or maybe hasn't even been included as recommended, that you would say that's a travesty that they belong?
I think there's a place called Babe's Meat Counter, and it's down in one of the unsexy parts of Miami. And what he did recently was he mapped all, if you go on Michelin, you can show them by the map. And he zoomed out, and all the Michelin places are right along the East Coast, the east of Miami, right, the tourist areas. And that's where you should, where you think, well, there's this whole other county
area, right.
So are there people that have been missed? Yes,
Yes,
like
right.
90% of them.
No,
But
I
that's
think
not the point of the award, I guess. Like
I think there's an unwritten rule that any place that Burger Piece this set foot in is disqualified
that's it.
automatically.
You lose a star automatically. Like
No,
if you're
but
down
in
to
the
2, you're down to 1.
in the same vein, in Broward, everything is concentrated east, touristy areas.
Right.
And I'm thinking Pasta and is a great Italian restaurant that specializes in Northern Italian house-made pastas, and they've really updated their game. They've expanded. They have a great bar area now, great cocktail program, and just I went in there and I was blown away by some of their dishes. And that's another place that deserves either just to be included as recommended or as a bib gourmand, and one of the original sponsors here, that's out in Southwest Ranches. A guy has such an unbelievable, just laser focused devotion on making the best ramen that he can, Shimuja, and he opened in the Julian Henry Food Hall. But his standalone, his restaurant that's in a strip mall out in Southwest Ranches puts out some of the best ramen that I've ever had, and I've been to Japan numerous times, and I just think that's a place that once upon a time, like Michelin, if they had ventured out of the tourist zones, would have given that, I'm glad they gave a recommended and included Larb Thai, which is a great place. There's a lot of Thai street food places now, including BKK Thai, that, in my estimation, has every bit as good street food Thai stuff as Larb, not as crowded. So there are these places all over. But Shimuja, in my mind, deserves a big gourmand. You get a great.
I think it's like who are your readers, right? If your readers are just folks who leave their hotel and go for a fantastic meal and then go back to your hotel, then Michelin works. Like Michelin, then that works. You take your Uber to the place and you come back. But if you're like what Bourdain used to call be a traveler, not a tourist, right? If you're going to just exist for a while, like when I travel to a place, I like to go to one city and just spend many days in that city
and
to the
roam
point
the
where
different neighborhoods.
where I'm bored in that city. I want to be bored and be like, I'm going to go check out a new neighborhood. I'm going to walk in the new neighborhood. And if for that kind of traveler, I think Miami is rich with restaurants. My South Florida is rich. Any place is rich with restaurants. Like frita shops should be. If you come to Miami, you have to go to a frita shop. Right. You should be at a ventanita. You should be ordering Cuban coffee at a window. It doesn't exist anywhere else. You should be getting barbecue at Smoke and Dough way out on the edge of the Everglades. Right. You should be going to Amelia's 1931, which is like a fancy version of Finca Steakhouse, with this Peruvian Cuban Korean fusion. It's really unique, and the atmosphere is great.
And it's by locals, and it's not just another freaking omakase, 300 a person place that they seem to just love.
Is it for the people who live there? Because when it feels like it's for the people who live there and trying to find it's not like when me and my wife travel, we'll have a nice meal here and there, but we just want local good food, whatever the price point is. And it feels like, because when we went to Thailand, this lady we saw on a Netflix special won, and she was some lady that had this little shop. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't have any aversions to the Michelin, but the more I do the show, Michelin's now become this hoity-toity thing. And it's like, so is it for the traveler or is it for the resident? Because it feels like the traveler's not going to spend $2,000 on one meal. Like you have a whole 10-day, 2-week trip. Like I'm so confused at who it's for. Is it for the resident or the traveler? Because it feels like
it's for the rich traveler is who it's for. And the rich resident. It's for the rich people, is what I'm saying.
It's the 1% guide. All right. Carlos, I'm going to let you go at this point. We're going to take our third and final break, but we really do appreciate having you on. I mean, anytime we're blessed with a 2-time James Beard Award-winning writer.
Shout out to my Florida Gators. Shout out to my Florida Gators for
good job.
Hanging another one in the rafters.
National
so
championship. Is there anything else you want to plug? Got anything else coming up? Financial Times going to be.
Financial Times. Look for that in a couple weeks. I mean, if folks just found me if they look for me on Instagram at Carlos Frias Official, because I guess you have to be official. If not, you're not official. That's where I post a lot of the stuff about where I'm going and things that I'm stumbling across and new work. So thank you, Mike.
All right. Thanks for dropping by. Hopefully we'll see you again in the flesh soon. When we come out, we're going to be going down to some places in Miami. So I'll invite him out when we go down there to our friend Danny Surfer. Maybe Mignonette is kind of his speed.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And I apologize. I guess I put on the schedule that today we were going to be a 2 o'clock show at Wild Time, and we did make some adjustments because Steve DePuzzo couldn't make it today. So we're going to be at Wild Time next Wednesday. And I think that's going to be at the regular 1 o'clock time. And today we did a home show. Tomorrow we're going to be at Wicked Cheesesteaks. We're going to catch up with Brian. It's been a while since we've been there. And that's at our usual 1 p.m. starting time. And on Thursday, we'll be with Jarrell at the new Fat Boys Barbecue right around the corner from me, downtown Fort Lauderdale, and get some of those delicious ribs and collard greens. And that, I think, is also the, I don't know if it's 1 or 2. I got to look at the schedule. I'll be posting it on the Let's Eat group later today, the upcoming few weeks of the road editions of the Lunchbox. All right. Meanwhile, Defo, I'll dismiss you as well. We will see you tomorrow at Wicked. You'll be out there at 1 o'clock. And let us take our third and final break. And then me and Lubie will wrap up this edition of the Lunchbox after this. For the finest poultry and the freshest fish, Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, open 7 days. Since 1951, a South Florida tradition for stone crab in season, Thanksgiving turkeys, holiday feasts, and everyday eating. Great steaks, house-made sausage, and prepared foods, too. Delaware is not just a market, it's a celebration of taste, quality, and old-fashioned customer service with a smile. Sign up for their weekly email flyer at DelawareChicken.com and tell them Mike Mayo and the Lunchbox sent you. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a great bagel with lox, matzo ball soup, deli sandwich, and rugelach, you know where I go? Grandpa's Restaurant in Dania Beach. It's a South Florida institution since 1957 that was revamped a few years back by a pair of New York bagel baking legends. Full deli and appetizing case with spreads, salads, and platters for takeout and catering. Grandpa's is near Federal Highway just north of Sterling Road, open 7 days for breakfast and lunch. Go eat and enjoy. It's Mike Mayo's Lunchbox approved. For the finest and authentic Greek cuisine, Taverna Kima is the place to go. 6298 North Federal Highway in Boca Raton. It's been around for nearly 2 decades. Every day is a feast with grilled lamb and fish, house-made spinach pie and moussaka, gyros, traditional dips, mezes, with soft, warm pita. It's open 7 days for lunch and dinner with happy hour daily from 3 to 6 p.m., indoor, outdoor, private dining. So celebrate life at Taverna Kima. For reservations and information, go to tavernakima.com. When I get a craving for real Southern barbecue, Fat Boys Barbecue is the place that I call home. Cooked low and slow with proper smoke and dry rub goodness, Fat Boys has some of the best ribs, brisket, burnt ends, pulled pork, and chicken around. 5 delectable sauces and the tastiest collard greens, candied yams, and cornbread this side of heaven. 4 locations, including Deerfield, Coral Springs, Cypress Creek Road, and their newest location in downtown Fort Lauderdale, 706 South Federal Highway. Open 7 days with great lunch specials, online ordering, delivery, catering, and food trucks for your next event. To order, go to fatboysbarbecue.com today. That's Fat Boys with a fresh local fish, a sophisticated setting. I'm talking about Corvina Seafood Grill. It's at 110 Plaza Real South in Boca Raton, just south of Palmetto Park Road. It's the place to go for the freshest and local seafood and fish, some of it with a Peruvian twist like their great ceviches. It's open 7 days for dinner. They also have happy hours 7 days a week. You don't want to miss it. It's a great place. CorvinaBocaRaton.com for more information and reservations. All right, we are back to wrap up this edition. Lubie, thanks for putting in a little bit of overtime. I thought that was fun. We did a deep dive. We kind of took some swipes at the Michelin Guide, but again, anybody that gets recognition, and it's, I'm so happy for Reno and Heritage and the crew over there when you do get included. And you know, in his case, the only bib gourmand in Broward, even though I think there are several other very deserving candidates. The fact that they found him, they acknowledged him, and you know, we knew him when. And I wonder if him just getting, you know, those shots and the publicity of grating the cheese and pasta in the Stanley Cup, if that puts somebody on the map. But hey, whatever it takes these days. But no, and Reno is Reno. Him, you know, and his sous chef Chris, as they were walking into the ceremony, they took a picture where they do their famous, well, their one finger salute. I'm doing it in the PG rating. We got to get in there. He was on the Paul Casanova show this morning. Nice. And I'm going to be on the Paul Cashano show tomorrow morning, also talking about all this Michelin
Nice.
nonsense and how many people, pay attention to it, and if we're paying attention to the wrong things. That'll be 7:25 a.m. during the prime drive time morning rush hour. So tune into Big 105.9 if you want.
Nice.
And I'll be chatting up with Paul. He's a good foodie as well. And yeah, that'll do it for today. All right. So thank you very much. And again, I said I have a new tagline that my daughter kind of came up with, because I'm eating less because I am on this new medication. So, and my daughter, she's going back to FSU tonight. I hope everything is calmed down up there. But yeah, she said, Dad, you don't need to eat a whole sandwich. I was like, you're right. So everybody out there, thanks for tuning in.